Welcome to Elite Broker, the podcast showcasing the leading players and stories of success from Australia's broking industry.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of Elite Broker. I'm your host for today, Annie Kane. Now, if you've been around in the industry for a while, you might recognize the voice of this podcast guest because we've got a return guest in the form of Colin Mason, but alongside him, a wonderful second guest today as well, as we cast our mind back to be like, what did broking look like 60 years ago and where have we come to now? The reason why I asked that is because the last time my guest was on the show was back in 2018 when the industry and his broking business looked very different. And since then, we've seen a wave of consolidation in the elite brokerage space. We've navigated so much change, including the COVID-19 virus. We've seen a huge amount of professionalization in the broking industry. We've had the best interest duty come in, and we've seen brokerages get bigger and better over time. Few have navigated that transition perhaps as successfully as the team we're discussing today in the form of top 25 brokerage Mason Finance Group, a business that's evolved from its early roots into a powerhouse and one of the leading brokerages in the country. But perhaps their biggest news of late is their merger with the Ironbark Group, a move that signals a new era for how broking and holistic financial services work together. So in this episode of Elite Broker, we're pulling back the curtain on the ins and outs of building a high-performing team, the strategic why behind why you would merge with another company, and how you can actually get the most out of a top-tier firm without losing that signature customer service. So joining me today is returning guest Colin Mason and his colleague Jessie Spencer, both leaders at Mason Finance Group, as we unpack what it takes to run a leading brokerage. Thank you both for joining me. Colin, how are you going? Welcome back.
Yeah, going well. Thank you, Annie. Good to be back.
Good to have you back on here. And Jessie, welcome. First time on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Annie.
Now, I'd love to pick both of your brains about what you're doing over at Mason Finance Group. Now, as I said, if anyone hasn't listened to the 2018 podcast, we'll put it in the show notes below. But it's kind of redundant in a way because it's such a different business, such a different environment. So while that was a great introduction to you, Colin, I think this one really is about what does it look like now? Where have we come to? But for anyone who's not had the pleasure of meeting you before, Colin, how long have you been in the industry for and where are you based?
Okay, so we're based on the Sunshine Coast in Maroochydore. We've been there for the last, I've been on the Sunshine Coast for the last 16 years. And then prior to that, I was in Bundaberg and then in Brisbane. So yeah.
And how long have you been broking for?
Broking for 22 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is,
And what a change over those 22 years as well. Not just, as I said, the 6 years that we've last had you on the podcast, but lots of different changes over those 22 years. So I'm looking forward to picking your brain about how it's changed over that time. Jessie, for you, how long have you been in the broking industry for?
I've been in the broking industry actually as a business owner for about 4 years. Previous to that, I worked at one of the major banks as a business development manager. So I think I've been in the industry for about 15 years.
Yep. So seen it from both sides of the coin.
Yes, yep. I've seen it from both sides. Cole was my biggest client when I was at the bank. And yeah, that's how we got to know each other.
And over time, obviously, you sort of saw something in you, was like, you know what, you'd be great in the broking industry, and I suppose poached you, or did you contact him and was like, have you got a job?
Sort of working together, weren't we? So we were working together and then we struck up this idea and next minute we were running Mason Finance Group.
Yeah.
So, but like Jess said, we knew each other we've probably known each other now actually for 10 years.
Yeah, about that, I think.
About 10 plus years. So obviously Jessie's background in banking, my background in mortgage broking, it seemed to be a good match.
So you're both now leaders at the group. Colin, you're probably more like salesy, broking facing, and Jessie, you're more like operational. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
So how do you split what you guys do? Like, what do you actually do?
I suppose my role is looking after the mortgage brokers and just ensuring that our targets are met month in, month out, making sure that we're continuing our networking, really just I suppose our main goal is to meet as many clients as possible per month and then making sure that we maintain those relationships that we've got with the market.
Yeah. And you said we there. How many people are in the group?
In the group now that we've merged, we've got over 40.
Yep.
In my direct team, there'd be 8 of us, which are all brokers.
Yeah. And so, Jessie, what's your function then? Are you looking after brokers? Are you looking after the whole group?
No. So I look after, I'd say, the support side. So it's my job to, I guess, lead the team and make sure the massive amount of deals that hit our pipeline actually get through the end and get through to settlement. So that's my main focus. And then also just keeping the staff morale up, keeping the team engaged, all the usual business stuff.
Well, I think it's unusual well, it was unusual maybe a long time ago to have someone really dedicated to the operational side of things. But I think increasingly we have seen brokerages really grow, really get bigger, become these much bigger sort of parts of financial services groups, and really need someone to do that. Do you think, like, if you think about your day-to-day, Jessie, like what sort of things do you kind of do that you think wouldn't be possible if you were one-man band?
Oh, for me specifically, like I do every aspect of the business. If, someone in our settlements team is sick or they have to go on leave, I will slot into that job and I will keep that function moving. If it was a one-man band, if it was Cole by himself and, there was a team member off, it would just have to be up to the other staff to keep it moving. And I guess it would be harder to actually manage that.
Yeah, you just wouldn't get done.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I just have to wait for them to come back from their leave. Sorry, no one's deal's getting settled today.
Exactly.
And now you've got, at Mason Finance Group, one of the biggest brokerages in the country, both in terms of volume. You talked about massive figures there, Jenny. You talked about massive figures there, Jessie. What are we talking? Are we talking hundreds of loans, thousands of loans? What kind of size of business are you?
Oh, every month we're settling hundreds of loans.
So our, I suppose, average lodgement volume now per month is about 130, 140 million, thereabouts, in terms of deals lodged.
Yeah. I always try and avoid, though, talking dollar values because across the country that means different things. So in terms of number of loans, what do you reckon that equates to?
It'll be over 200 loans per month.
Okay.
That we're lodging. So.
Yeah, awesome. So that's, you need quite a bit of support behind you to write that many loans. Is it mostly resi, or are you doing a bit of everything?
Mostly residential.
Yeah, it's definitely residential. So we do tap into a little bit of commercial, but I would say 95% of what we do is residential.
And have you always wanted to do that? Have you ever kind of been like, well, we're gonna try and do everything? Have you ever tried doing anything else?
We've spoken about diversification amongst the different product classes, I suppose, we can go into. But we've always been so busy with residential home loans and, with a lot of the relationships we built on the Sunshine Coast with real estate agents, for example, we've always just followed that pathway.
Yeah.
But we do come across car loans and commercial loans, and we still do them. But it's only a very small part of what we do, really.
So if you think about what you're writing at the moment, we're still only really at the beginning of the year. And I keep seeing all this data about, how we closed off 2025. And of course, we had the expanded first home guarantee scheme. We had the help to buy scheme launch. We had loads of people freaking out about potential rate hikes coming down the track. What were you guys sort of seeing at the moment? Is it still mostly FHB and investor, or is it SMSF? What kind of loans are you kind of writing at the moment?
There's probably a lot of new purchases, Annie. There was talking on the way down today, actually. There's around 70% of what we're doing at the moment is pre-approved clients ready to buy. So it's like a new year, new me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And people have got new goals. So we're seeing a lot of customers doing pre-approvals. The market's opened up a little bit on the Sunshine Coast where we're based now. So there's a lot more stock coming to the market now as well. So that's making it a little bit more accessible for some of those first home buyers or buyers in general that are able to get on a purchase contract.
Yep.
Where last year it was a little bit tougher, it was a little bit more tighter, I suppose, the market on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah. Ugh, what a horrible place to work for you guys. Goodness. The Sunshine Coast, Maroochydore, boo, sounds awful. But when you think about the kind of properties up there, I mean, Queensland, as we know, has had such a huge year for property, not just in Brisbane, but across the whole state. I think Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast as well, really seeing a lot of investors particularly looking over and being like, well, it looks like a nice place to live. Who doesn't want to live somewhere called the Sunshine Coast?
Correct.
But when you think about what you're seeing, is it a lot of people investor buyers, or is it a lot of owner occupiers?
Oh, look, we have seen a lot of investors last year. It's probably come off a little bit more so because of the rental yield on the Sunshine Coast, still a little bit low in terms of where the current interest rates are sitting at the moment as well. So we're still seeing investors, but a lot of the investment clients we're seeing are buying outside of the Sunshine Coast area at the moment. So I would say maybe 50% are buying away from the Sunshine Coast and 50% are choosing to invest on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, okay. And Jessie, for you, when you think about the sort of types of loans that you're writing, do you see any kind of trends? Are you going to forecast any sort of 2026 themes or trends that you think you're going to see this year?
Oh my gosh, Annie. You put me on the spot. I don't actually even know how to answer that question.
Based on, if you think about the flows of business deals that you're seeing coming through at the moment, is there anything that you're like, we wouldn't have seen this 12 months ago?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, no, I don't think so. Like the lending that we're doing at the moment is still similar to what we were doing. It's just they're actually converting the pre-approvals at the very least. We're getting a lot more contracts through, but
just the numbers have increased for us, obviously, over the years we've been in business. But I would say there's been a bit of an uplift in first home buyer activity, only because obviously 1st of October for us, the government schemes changed. So that's seen a lot of uplift. But even the just the inquiry at the moment's been quite phenomenal the last 3 or 4 months as well. Coming into Christmas, it was busy. And then already this year, we were saying on the way down today that our lead count through our website, which is all organic stuff generally, has doubled since December and November. So it's a good start to the year. There's a lot more phone calls, a lot more inquiry, people are more interested. So yeah.
Sorry, Annie, I was just going to say, I don't think I've actually seen our queues as busy as they have been at the start of the year. This is
even though we're expecting a rate tightening cycle.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen, but I think it's on the cards, isn't it? But look, I think a lot of households have become comfortable. I think they've got their spending in check over the last couple of years. A lot of customers we're seeing now have got more deposits saved as well, or they're getting more support from family to help them avoid things like LMI, for example. But there seems to be a lot more confidence to start the year versus last year. So for us at the moment, so Sunshine Coast has always been very like a lot of hesitant households over the last couple of years, but it feels to me that it's opening up a little bit now as well. So as I said, there's a lot more inquiry for us at the moment that we're having to sort of deal with, but it's a lot of good inquiry as well.
Yeah. Now, walk me back a few steps if you can to be like, well, how do you actually kind of build a business like this? Because I think so many people will be like, I would love to be in the top 25 brokerages ranking, but I have no idea how to get there, or I have no idea how to go from one-man band to a two-person band, doubling pretty much in size, and then kind of looking at that continued growth. Colin, when you think about your career trajectory over the last 22 years, what have your steps been?
I suppose my biggest thing in building and gaining momentum over those last 22 years is just not putting a cap on growth. I've always been very open mindset around growth, and each month's a new month for me, for example. So, coming across Jessie obviously 10 years ago was a blessing because we've been able to build what we built today. But I've always just been very open-minded around growth. So that's what I've been targeting. Having the right people around me has been really important to me as well. Back 22 years ago, I was really on my own, starting out, and now we've got a team of 40 plus. So that's been gradual momentum, obviously. But I would say my biggest thing is just not putting a cap on growth.
Yeah. So when you actually did first decide to go from one-man band to multi-person band, if you can say that, an orchestra, how did you make that first step? Did you look at hiring a broker first? Was it support first? Was it like another, support para broker? Like, who did you turn to?
It sort of just happened organically. So when Jessie and I set up Mason Finance Group, we had a couple of people that we had in mind to support the back office, which happened almost immediately. And then we had people just knocking on our door wanting to come and work for us because they'd heard about either myself or they heard about Jessie as well. And we picked up some really good staff at the start of our journey. And that enabled us to grow. And then Jessie and I, the more we started building and very quickly, we had to go and lease an office, for example. We were going to work out of my garage. Back in the day, that wasn't never going to work. And we sort of planned ahead. So we actually hired staff before we actually hit that milestone. If we had to set that out 6 months, we hired 3 staff for that 6-month period, for example. So we're always thinking ahead, not sort of getting to that point and going, now we need more staff and we're too late and we're now 3 or 4 months behind the 8 ball. So we were always planning ahead, weren't we? So,
and I'll just expand on that. Like Colin and I, as he just said, we always have had people just knock on our door to want to actually join. And when good staff have knocked on our door, even if we didn't need them, we never said no.
Yeah.
We took them on and we wore the cost. And it never actually backfired. We've always just continued to grow. Yeah.
I mean, I think that sounds like the dream for a lot of people, but I can imagine that would cause some sleepless nights being like, how am I going to pay the salaries that are needed? I'm assuming they're on salary, maybe they're not. Did you do that? Did you actually bring on salary? Did you go, okay, well, maybe you're only on commission only because we can't afford to cover the cost of hiring someone now?
It was a split. So, well, obviously all of the support team, salary.
Yeah.
But when brokers joined, it was a split. We had, at the start, it was mostly commission or not commission contractors join, but over time they've all merged onto salary as well.
Yeah. Okay. And that's quite a difficult conversation, I'd imagine, for someone who's used to have been a one-man band and earning their own kind of uncapped potential to then be on salary. How do you have that conversation? Like, do you think people are kind of open to it? Because if anyone's thinking about doing the same thing, I wonder what advice you'd have for them to do it.
We were fairly fortunate because a lot of the brokers that we had were already commission only, so they're already experienced brokers anyhow. So they're coming into our business with the relationships in place, so they could sort of hit the ground running. I mean, our sort of model was that we would present leads to them through our rotation, which is all our organic stuff, I suppose, or we would pair them up with real estate agents or other referral opportunities that I might have had that I was happy to share, for a better word. So we didn't really have to have those tough conversations, did we? It was only really sort of one particular broker that we went on wages with straight away, but that was really it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you come to thinking about actually building this, and Jessie, I might ask you this question because I think a lot of people go, I would love to be able to hire staff before I need them, but I don't really know what that looks like. And I haven't figured out like how many loans I need to cover off. Do you do something like that? Did you kind of go, this is where we want to be, this is how many people we need to do it? Or was it kind of more organic and being like, well, we've got them now, let's see what we can do?
No, we had a plan, always. Or it was probably both. It was organic and a plan. We didn't ever want to be in the position where we were drowning and we couldn't actually give a good customer experience because we know that would have an opposite effect on our actual business and the leads coming through. So we did always put in a lot of effort to actually make sure that we had the staffing available. And Colin and I had a really open dialogue all the time and we trust each other. So if I went to Colin and said, Cole, we've got to hire someone, like we're almost at our cap, we bring on any more leads, we're not going to be able to actually have that great customer experience. We would just pop the ad up and off we'd go. We'd hire another.
Yeah. And you talked about moving out of your garage into an office space. And again, that's a kind of big milestone for a lot of people is
daunting.
Yeah. Getting an office and having to pay the rent if you're not buying it yourself or having to buy it if you want to move into your own premises. What did you guys do? How did you do that?
It was quite interesting, actually. Because
it's my favourite story. Sorry to cut you off, Cole, but it's my favourite.
You did look at him like, ooh.
It was funny because when we announced that we were coming back, or I was coming back into the industry, my calendar was very, very full for the first month. No one could get in to see me, and we sort of knew quite early in that arrangement that we had to not work in my garage, so we had to get an office. So, and then trying to find an office was actually harder than what a lot of people think. It's not easy to find an office either. So we had a couple of months to find space, which we did. We found space, but it was very small. So, and then as our team kept growing, we had to obviously get bigger space, which we've now got. So,
what was it making difficult? Like lack of supply, or not like the cost?
It wasn't so much the cost. I mean, it was a little bit because we're getting in for the first time with an office lease. It was a fixed lease that we had to sign for 3 years. So as you can understand, new business, sort of wondering how we're going to go. We were trying to keep our overheads to almost nil. So finding the right space was difficult from that regard.
We also didn't want to pay for a fit out.
Yeah.
So we needed to find a business, a place
space
on the sunny coast that was ready for us just to like move in. And this being my first business, I was probably a little bit more of a handbrake than Colin because I was looking at my life savings going into this business, not understanding what I'm actually going to get out of it, going, no, Cole, like we just got to cool our jets a little bit. But he was like, no, Jess, we are going to get this office. We have to have it. We've got all these appointments.
You're going to do this, we've got to do it right.
Yeah, so we did, and I trusted him, and thanks, Cole.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, I guess that's what also the beauty of having a sort of partnership in a way is that you can kind of, you push each other to do things maybe outside your comfort zone that hopefully in the end result in success, which just seems like it did here. Yeah. So was the office space, apart from the fact that you were just sort of, not wanting to have 15 people in your garage, is it more that you were thinking about having clients come and see you there?
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't want clients to, it's a bit of a privacy thing, clients knowing where you live. But it was also just being accessible as well. Like fortunate enough to live on some acreage property as well. So there's plenty of room for clients to come and see us, but it was more the privacy thing. And then we wanted to be in and around the CBD area as well. So I didn't need sort of brand presence on the footpath as such. So we were happy to be in a building or a tower somewhere, which we ended up getting. But we just didn't want really clients, I suppose, coming to your house.
Yeah. You're like, I'm trying to sleep. Please go away.
Can I just say from a productivity point of view, having an office was always going to happen eventually, because we're not the brokerage that drives to someone's house, because we have back-to-back appointments. Usually, especially Colin, his diary, it's important that we have an office that clients can come to us, and then, off they trot, and we've got a new one in afterwards.
Yeah, you can more easily fit people in.
Yeah. So when I was in a brokerage, I left just around the COVID pandemic. I actually went and flew a plane. I was a flying instructor, so I always had a thing for aviation. So I don't know whether you knew that, Annie, but yeah. So I ended up getting my pilot license. Yeah, and I was instructing people how to fly planes, and that was a void that I filled in my life for 2 years. And then Andrew Thompson, who's a friend of mine and friend of Jess's, offered me a role at Ironbark Group as a business coach, and that was where I ended up being. Before we jumped into Mason Finance.
So because I probably knew your name when you came back, and you were on the other side, kind of teaching other brokers like how to run their business. But then you were like, you know what? Maybe I could still do this. So you started your own company.
Yeah, it was. I suppose it's just a passion. It's like I missed it, and being away from it for so long, I realised that I wanted to get back in. It was actually my wife who sort of pushed me to get back in. So and there was just timing when obviously I was working with Jess, and it all just fell into place.
Yeah.
So I was the recruiter at Low Market at the same time. So we were working together, doing that drive from the sunny coast to Brisbane. I think that's how
in traffic.
Why didn't you fly? You should have just flown over.
Should have. There's no airport they'll let you land on.
Yeah, that's true.
Poor Andrew, we quit on the same day. So never fear though. We're staying.
You still with Loan Market,
exactly.
So, not a full loss for them, just, head office. And, I think also we see that increasingly, don't we? There's loads of people who are either in bank and then they kind of go, actually, I want to become a broker, or in aggregation, they become brokers themselves. I think we saw Ange McNaughton as well at Loan Market. Yes. She was in head office, now a broker. Yep. There's a couple of others, I think, actually, in Loan Market. It's a big group, so lots of people. But interesting seeing, it's actually quite, I think, reassuring in a way, being like, oh, you know what, we're going to actually do what they've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah.
So you guys formed a partnership with Mason Finance Group, but you didn't really stop there, because now you're in the midst of a merger, which we're going to talk about in just a bit. So you were talking earlier about how you've got a big team now, and you have different people doing different things. So walk me through exactly how many teams you have, how you structured the team as well. And maybe, Jessie, I'll start with you for that.
Yeah, of course. So we probably run our business a little bit differently to, I guess, other brokerages. We have specific teams that do, I guess, a specific part of the lending journey for a client. So we have, first up, I guess, the sales team, who initially get the lead, get the customer into our system. We have what we call our advice team, and they're like our front office ninjas. They follow up all the outstanding documents and make sure all of our customers are ready for the brokers. We then have our approval team. So our approval team, they take the application from the brokers from their recommendation, and then they follow it all the way through to approval. And then we have our settlement team, who, they chase the settlements.
Yeah.
And then we have our post-settlement team. So anything post-settlement, maintenance, they're them. And then, of course, the sales team.
So do all of those points of contact have contact with the client?
Yes.
Is that not quite hard to explain to the clients about why they're being contacted by 4 or 5 different people?
There's an onboarding system, or an onboarding process, for a better word. So each person that's onboarding to the next person in our process has to let the client know, and there's communication around that as well. So then right from the outset, Jess mentioned the advice meeting ninjas. They're also it's an important role. So they onboard the customer. That starts with them, and then obviously all the way down through to the settlement team.
And I think as long as the customer is aware of who they are with at that point in the journey, they're okay. We have not a rule, but we try to have the customer not have to follow us up for an update. There's some really clear expectations with the team of, you've got to be the one who keeps in contact with the client, even if it's ringing the client to say, I've got nothing to tell you, I'm still waiting on X, Y, Z. We don't want them calling into the office.
Yeah.
Yes, the inbound calls, if the phone's ringing consistently or constantly through the day, and it's inbound calls, clients wanting updates, then we've dropped the ball somewhere, so we need to fix that. Thankfully, that never really happens. So the staff are all there. They're making their outbound calls daily.
So where's the largest headcount? Which team is the biggest?
The approval team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're the ones dealing with credit
We'd have 15 in that team, 16.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
So, poor things. So they're having to deal with credit the whole time.
Yeah.
They never get to see it on the other end. They just get all of the hard work and none of the gratification of the
I
client.
do get
being
to say
"Yay!"
congratulations for the approval. Though,
Yeah,
so.
they usually make the call. And
Okay.
say,
Well, then they do get some
Yeah.
sweetener. That's
Yeah.
all right then. I'll let them off. So when you think about when you decide to kind of have your team structured that way, was that like trial and error? Did you do that on purpose? Was there like a way or a process that you went through to decide that was a good system for you?
Yeah, look, it was. We didn't want siloed teams. Like I know some businesses, structure their process around having siloed teams. We wanted just to have one walkthrough process. So and it can be like if that customer comes back through again, for example, it can be different people they're dealing with again, through the next part of the process if they come back for a top up or a refinance, for example. So our process was designed that way. And we found that worked quite well with our volume, didn't we? So,
Yeah, way back at the start when we opened, though, obviously we didn't have as many staff on board and we weren't as segmented as we are now. And right at the start, the approval team was really doing everything all the way to settlement. But, sometimes you have a settlement that might be going a little bit astray and the person in the approval team was just focused on their settlement, so we weren't moving the new deals. So the more people that we brought on, the more segmented it got.
Yeah. And I'd like to also just talk a little bit about how you actually generate so much business because, of course, like, especially when you're just starting out, people will be like, this is great. I've got all my qualifications. I've got all my accreditations. Where do I find the clients?
Yep.
Other than kind of just like walking up and down being like, do you need a loan? Like, how do you actually do it? Did you do it online? You mentioned real estate agents earlier. Is it through referral partners? Is it just through word of mouth? I wonder how you guys actually generate your new business.
Yeah, look, when I first started out, it was pounding the foot pavement. So it was knocking on real estate agent offices. It was trying to do sales meetings. It was asking for that one deal just to get across the line to make them happy. And then they get the next person to refer, etc. So I remember, and I say this story to the new brokers in our business as well that have joined that want to build more revenue, is you have to pound the pavements and it's consistently doing it. Like you can't just do it for 3 months and then drop that. You've still got to do it even after 12 months or 18 months or 24 months. You can't stop. So that was a big part of my sort of journey, especially on the Sunshine Coast when I moved up there in 2010 because I knew no one. I knew a couple of family members and that was it.
So you just really got all their loans and were like, tell everyone.
And then the Sunshine Coast is very cliquey too. So if you look after enough people there and you do the right thing and you're personable and you don't burn bridges, then the work just seems to come. So now a lot of my customers are now, a lot of my leads are repeat business and client referrals. But we still deal a lot with real estate agents. I would say probably 30% per month of our deals is referred through a real estate agent. So still quite a large part of our business. But I would just say probably two things for a broker starting out today is don't stop what you start, because I think that's very important to be, and that's just consistency, and don't put a cap on growth. Like I said before, like if you want to grow, putting a cap on growth is sometimes to your detriment. So.
Yeah, and I suppose also if you do have a solid number, like saying I want 40% growth year on year, you're devastated if you don't hit it, and then you're kind of complacent if you do. So sort of maybe almost a blessing and a curse, and in both ways, in that it kind of either way you're not necessarily satisfied. So just being like, well, I grew. That's good.
Yeah, it's funny. I always said that we want to grow by 20% each year. So if we can do 20% growth year on year, then we're doing something right. And even now, like we still talk about that 20% growth year on year. So
it's harder as you get bigger as well.
It's harder as you get bigger and you've got a bigger book. But you just got to keep finding it in other areas. Like I've always said everyone knows about 10 to 12 people that can refer a deal to you. So it's a matter of how do we tap into that spider web of people that are out there, whether it be on the Sunshine Coast for us or whether it be throughout Queensland or throughout Australia. Like there's definitely opportunity. We just need to go and find it. Yeah.
And I guess this is also why it's so important having a properly structured team so that you can have time to go and pound the pavements and go and find that business and then hand over the file so you're not having to watch that sort of bouncing ball fall all the way through.
That is our entire idea. We let the broker do what they're great at, which is the sales, the recommendation, everything, and then we take the deal.
Yeah, the brokers don't have much input really with that deal after the client meeting, essentially. Like they recommend the proposal, I suppose, for the better word, to the client, and that's where it stops for the broker. Like essentially they're out there finding finding business, building relationships, making sure that our customers have a great outcome at the start. And then it's the approval team, the settlement team, the advice meeting team that then take it over from there. So even to the point where if a bank calls the broker to run something past them in a deal, it goes to the approval team.
Yeah.
So we try and take as much of that admin task away from the broker and allowing them to do what they're good at, and that's build revenue essentially.
Yeah, and sort of manage the client relationship.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to ask you about is around how you manage. Sometimes I think some brokers, for example, might think, well, I know this loan should go here, but then someone in their team will be like, we recommend this. And then you might have a little bit of kind of, let's call it tug of war, where I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way of saying that. Tug of war where the broker will be like, actually, I really want to put it in this lender. And someone in the back office team will be like, no, you're wrong. How do you manage that kind of conflict?
We've had this conversation before, haven't we? So it's look, we don't mind it. We always want to build a healthy relationship between all the teams. And the broker, I'll backtrack one bit. A lot of our approval team members are actually qualified brokers if they want to be. They've done all the studies, and because they're in policy day in, day out as well, sometimes they'll pull the broker up and go, you haven't actually followed the policy here, like it's not going to work there. We would rather that at that point than obviously the pain that we're going to get 2 weeks down the track when the bank calls you and says you've actually declined.
Yeah.
So we do daily meetings all around that. We have our high conversion rate, don't we? We've got 98% conversion from start to sort of finish. So our conversion's high, but we probably spend more time at that part of the process as well to get that part right. I'd rather spend another day and not lodge an actual application and get that part right before we actually go and lodge it on the whim that maybe it'll get approved, maybe it won't. We're just not that type of business, are we?
No, not at all. We the brokers have a really large trust in, especially the approval team. So if they say, this is not right, or we think this is a better option, generally they'll take it on board. And if they agree, then great. If they don't, then they'll explain X, Y, Z. This is why my recommendation is better, and then we'll proceed.
Yeah. Okay. And when it comes to, I guess, the technology and the tools and systems that you're using, like, do you use any special apps or tech to help you stay across everything and be really efficient?
Now that we have merged, or we are in the process of merging, I think we are using a lot more tech than Colin and I were using when we first opened. When we first opened, we're using a lot of Excel spreadsheets and doing a lot of things manually. But yes, we use the tech. So firstly, the CRM that we use is obviously market leading, in our opinion. Quickly, they're making their product better with all the AI stuff that's coming out now. I know that we're working on in the background, more AI for income verification and things like that. What's some of the other products that we use, Cole?
Well, the main ones that we use are Quickly. We'll use, for our lead generation, we're using Brokerages, Loan Tools, for example, as well. We use Copilot, ChatGPT, so all the normal systems that a lot of brokerages are using now. But we're trying to just streamline our efficiencies. We want to get quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah.
I think at the moment, if we could process a deal within 2 hours or 3 hours and get that back to 1 hour, that's our goal. So, when you're doing 200 plus deals a month, the quicker we can process, the quicker we can go and find other deals as well out there. So,
what do you think the biggest delay or the biggest sort of bottleneck is in the loan writing process at the moment?
I'd probably say MIRs, which is your obviously information requests. Your more information requests. So I'd like to think that we're pretty good at that, to be honest with you, because we do spend a lot of time at the front end to get that part right. But you're always going to get that, unfortunately. And assessor will have a different opinion to you. So that's probably a big bottleneck. I think if we can streamline that somehow with AI technology moving forward, I think that's a big gap in the industry that needs to be filled. And I think we're getting there, to be honest with you. And then that'll improve our efficiencies, like I said before. So the more efficient you are, the more revenue you can write as a business, the more staff you can employ as well. Because I still believe, even though with all the AI technology coming, you've still got to employ staff. Staff still need to talk to your client. And because of the traffic that we're writing month in, month out, we are going to need more staff at some point, and we will write more deals. I've got no doubt about that. So,
well, you talked about the coming merger And I definitely want to talk about this because I think this is something that we really saw starting to happen probably around COVID, and since then really accelerate. Like a lot of the brokerages merging with other brokerages, also just loads of people retiring. You know, the first generation of brokers retiring now, so looking at selling their book or merging with someone so they can hand over the keys. Why have you guys decided to merge, and how did it actually happen? So this is with the Ironbark
Group.
Who approached whom?
Ironbark Group approached us probably 3 years ago, and it was too early for us. So we sort of backed away from it at that point in time. We were still in growth phase. We were still, I suppose, growing, as I said. But then probably 2 years ago, they approached us again, and the timing was right. We were going through a lot of growth at the time, recruiting more staff as well. Jessie and my relationship in business is I look after all the revenue stuff. Jessie looks after the operational stuff, and that worked really well for us. We complemented each other really well. But yeah, like we just felt the timing was right, to be honest with you, like to sort of amalgamate with a much bigger powerhouse with more capital behind us as well. As you're growing a business, obviously you're using your own money to invest a lot of your own money into building your business, and we had lots of big plans as well around bringing in financial planning, accountancy-based systems and services, even conveyancing. We sort of spoke about bringing conveyancing in, buyers agents. So like there was a lot of things that we wanted to do, but you needed quite a lot of capital to do that, and then a lot more risk as well to be able to move forward with those ideas. So it was right timing for us, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Ironbark Group, it's a national company. So Colin and I always wanted to be national, just us, but we couldn't say no to actually getting the opportunity to join them. They've got, so many financial planners, which is just another way that we're going to be able to generate leads. It was a good opportunity.
And we wanted to offer our clients more than just mortgage broking as well. Like we do the car loans, the commercial loans, the residential home loans, but we wanted to offer them more. We wanted to be that holistic advice business, essentially, where you can come and see us for your first time, and then we can give you the aged care service at the end, which, Ironbark Group do have the aged care service business as well. So so now it's a complete circle of life that we can give or offer a customer. We had to amalgamate two teams because there was a lending team there when we sort of merged, and they had to be or form part of our team. So at the very start, we had to get our processes aligned, which we did relatively quickly because of our size and our growth, and we had to do that quickly. And that's sort of all fallen into place now. And then there's other brokers that were part of Ironbark as well. So, and they've sort of fallen under the sort of sales team as well. So, and now honestly, it's all just about growth, Annie, for us at the moment. So it's around, that's why we're here now in Sydney, doing our strategy day tomorrow. So it's all about growth for this coming 12 months.
Yeah. So when it comes to actually, I suppose, building a business, do you think that's a kind of natural progression? And the reason why I ask that is because we've seen a lot of big brokerages in the last month, let alone in the last couple of years, consolidate or merge or acquire. So, if I think about some of the top ones recently, like we saw, Empower Wealth took acquired a brokerage. We've seen U Financial and Rise High come together down in SA. We've seen Viridian, Smart Move. It's a whole load of companies kind of subsuming or merging with other ones. Do you think that's a natural progression for the broking industry, that we'll just all see consolidation? Yeah,
I said this to even Sam White, to be honest with you, when we were having dinner with him 5 years ago. I said a comment at that point in time, I think the industry is going to start to amalgamate over the next 5 years. And like you said just now, you're seeing that. I always said, as businesses try to grow, for a lot of businesses, they don't want to take that extra risk, like I was sort of saying a second ago. And depending on what services you want to complement yourself with, in terms of what tools do you want in your tool belt, so to speak. And sometimes you mightn't be able to access that straight away. You might have to go and spend that money and put those extra services on, or you can simply go and talk to a company that might have all those services, and then you can complement each other in terms of what you're offering already to what they're already offering their sort of clients. And that was where Ironbark, obviously, we looked at that and went, this is why we want to do it, is because they've got what we want. I think there'll be a lot more amalgamation of businesses going forward. And I think many years ago when I started, it was there's a lot of single brokers doing it on their own, doing all their own processing, their own compliance, application submissions, tracking, settlements, everything, lead generation on top of that as well. It becomes harder, obviously, especially in in today's age as well. So that's why I think you'll see more amalgamations over the next sort of 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. And when it comes to actually kind of like offering the full service, because again, like I can't imagine, as you sort of said there, like many brokers will want to take on the added burden of hiring financial planners or an area that they don't specialize in, because it's sort of being like, well, how do I even know how to hire? How do I know who to partner with? You know, what am I looking for? Do you think that there's any sort of like advice you'd give someone who's looking at not necessarily bringing in a partner from another industry, but just bringing in a new partner or merging? Do you have any advice for that?
I think make sure you know who you're merging with. That's probably the key point. You need to make sure that their goals and I guess aspirations for the business are where you see it going. Because if you're headed in two different directions, it's not going to be good for anyone's business. So just essentially know who you're going into business with. Yeah,
there's got to be an alignment. I think growth is, like I've mentioned growth a number of times today, I think growth has to be on the table as well. If you're going to amalgamate, you're obviously there. You're wanting to do it because you want to grow. So what you don't want is someone in the business that maybe wants to put a cap on that as well. Like I said, I think if you've got a business that's growing quite rapidly, putting a cap on growth can be to your detriment as well. So, and I think thinking ahead as well. I mean, if that other person that you're looking to amalgamate with is thinking ahead the same way that you're thinking ahead around staff recruitment, processes, technology, everything, then I think it's going to be a good outcome.
You guys have both sort of mentioned about like how things have evolved and that, it's almost in a way been good timing or good luck. It sounds like that you found the right people, that you've managed to come together at the right time, that you've had opportunities. Do you think that's about, putting your name out there and people knowing who you are? Or do you think that's about kind of more just luck, fate?
It's not luck. I don't think it's certainly, Colin Mason's name's been around for a long time. So I think we had that going for us, launching the business, being called Mason Finance Group. People knew who we were already, but it's not all luck. Like Colin and I, we have worked really hard day in, day out for the last 4 years, grinding the pavement, going to the networking events, showing up for our team, showing up for our customers, working until, as a small business owner, you said before, until 10, 11 o'clock at night, in those early days. It's not like it was hard work.
Getting up and being there, being present. So, and when you don't want to be there, you still have to be there.
Yeah.
So, and it's a matter of your personality and, and your demeanour. When you do turn up, you just got to turn up and show up and you're there for your staff. I think, and that was probably a big thing that Jessie and I spoke about many times at the start of our journey is, as we're getting more and more staff, we want them to see that we're happy every single day. And for the most days we were. But you want to, you want to be a good leader. For Jess anyhow, this was probably the first business and first time being a leader. So you quickly change who you are, I think, as a person when you're leading a business and you've got staff that are looking up to you day in, day out for leadership. So.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here, but I'd like to talk to you about what you've got planned for the rest of the year, where you see yourself in 5-10 years' time, and what the kind of biggest challenges and opportunities are that you've seen in the broking industry. And we'll get into that just after this. So you guys have talked very kindly about how you've been building the business, how it's gone through different evolutions. So looking at 2026, there's still a lot of work to do, I think, in the merger. What are your priorities for this year? Resolutions?
I think just to continue to grow. We want to continue to bring on good quality, high-performing brokers to the business. And I think we also want to increase, our cross-referrals into the larger ecosystem of the Ironbark Group.
How many brokers do you reckon you'll be bringing on?
Uncapped,
yeah. I would say if we could bring on another 5 or 6 this year, like high-performing brokers, and that's our model, is we want them to be high-performing, which is why we provide all the admin support for them. I'd say 5 or 6.
And do they have to be in Maroochydore?
No, they can be Australia-based, essentially.
And then when you look then further afield, so let's say we're talking to you, well, we took 6 years to get to this podcast. So let's say in another 6 years' time, if we brought you back again, what do you hope to be doing? Where do you hope to be?
I think still in business, absolutely. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy turning up every day, helping clients. I've got a lot of clients that are good friends now as well. So I would suggest, for me personally, I think it'd be still in and around mortgage broking. I'm still doing the same thing as I'm doing most days.
Maybe with a sideline in piloting.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe in pilot, maybe with my own plane. Who knows?
Yeah.
So.
Do you know, I actually did a podcast not so long ago, a crossover with our aviation title with a broker who's also a Qantas pilot and talking about how he managed both. And I was a bit like, are you just like, as you're kind of at 35,000 feet, being like, and if anyone needs a home loan, then please come up to the cockpit. Yeah. But no, he doesn't
good
do
way
that.
to sell.
Doesn't do that, unfortunately. Apparently, you're not allowed to do that, but there we go.
Captain Williams.
When you think then, I think at the challenges. So we've talked about where you'd like to take the business and where you're going in sort of the near and long term. Actually, Jessie, I didn't ask you. Where are you going to be in 6 years' time?
In the business still. I think less in the tools, maybe. Because right now, as I said before, like I can flit around and be sort of every single role in the company. But I think as we continue to grow, bring on more staff, bring on more team leaders, I'd like to be kind of there to mentor, I guess, more so than do all the time.
Yeah. Natural kind of leadership progression. Yeah,
exactly.
When you think about the big challenges over your career, I'm always curious to know, like, what were the hardest things you've had to overcome? Like, what are the biggest, like, problems and how did you overcome them?
I think COVID was a big problem. I mean, because no one had ever been through a pandemic, not in my generation anyhow. So that was a learning experience, to be honest with you, because everything changed overnight. So that was a challenge. We had to adapt. We had to pivot quite quickly. We had staff at that point in time in my previous business. We had 40 plus staff in there as well. So we had to think quickly around how we supported those staff. So that was a challenge. And then I don't know whether you call it a challenge, but because we've grown so quickly in Mason Finance Group too, it was around how do we manage this? Like Jessie said before, our days were long and they're still long. But it was around those late night calls at 9:30 at night, trying to go through spreadsheets and processes, and what do we change, who do we employ, how do we run the profit and loss better. There was a lot of that type of stuff. So like you adapt as you go, and you talk to a lot of different people that have done it before. So we leaned on a lot of people back then. Sam White was one of them. Around how do we get better at this, and that's been a really big learning experience. But we've grown as people. Really.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing, especially when we launched into an actual business, it was finding a balance for my family. For I think probably the first 12 months, I didn't really find that balance. I was very siloed and focused only on the business, and my family kind of suffered a little bit over that. But it's been finding that balance. And I'm really happy to say right now I have a lovely balance, and I'm not just solely focused on work. I've got my boys, I've got my husband, and it's we've learned how to balance.
Yeah, and I think that's a common thing for small business owners is being like, well, I need to put all my blood, sweat and tears into this business because I'm building an asset and I'm building a legacy, but something has to give because you're redirecting your focus and attention. How did you bring that back for anyone who might be thinking, can't see the wood for the trees here, and maybe I'm in a similar position? How did you end up kind of getting back to equilibrium, or a better balance at least?
Honestly, probably part of how we, I guess, are merging with Ironbark. Like it really has helped me in the last 12 months really have a much better balance. But previous to that, when Colin and I were running the business, just us, it was not turning your phone off on the weekends, but not sitting at the computer, and just actually putting an effort into being present in my family's life, not being on the phone while watching soccer, just actually watching and enjoying.
Being disciplined.
Yeah.
Yep. And helping each other too. Like I know you and I had tough conversations around how we get better at that, both me and you. So I think that's the joys of having a good business partner as well. Absolutely. Because you do bounce ideas off each other as well, especially someone like, I trust Jess like she's my sister. So like we had those chats, didn't we?
Yeah.
Quite often around how do we get better at this work-life balance thing, because at the moment it's just not working.
Yeah.
And to Jess's point too, like merging with Ironbark Group, there's still a lot of hard work, blood, sweat and tears, don't get me wrong, but it's that level of balance that we've now found, both of us.
And of course, like balance is one thing, but stress is still going to arise no matter what you do. So I wonder how you guys actually mitigate those really stressful days. Like, let's say you've had a day where something's gone wrong with the clients, and then you spilt coffee all down yourself, and then, you can't find your car keys or something. Like, it's just one of those days. Like, how do you get back into a good place? I wonder what you do to unwind and de-stress.
Book a holiday.
Book a holiday immediately.
You just actually stole the words out of my mouth. It's book a holiday, book a weekend away,
Yep.
book something to look forward to.
Yep.
That's how we de-stress.
Okay, that's a lot of holidays. I don't know if my budget would expand.
I
to
like
that.
holidays.
Yeah. I think just even booking a night away, to your point,
Yeah.
though, like you just book a night away, just take your husband, take your wife away just for a night. So, so I think you just got to have something to look forward to, Annie. That's probably the biggest thing. I think you can get so entrenched and broking. I've always said this, no one really knows what you do as a broker until you actually work in the industry. A lot of people look at it from the outside and go, oh, that must be an easy job. It really isn't. Like you've got to be available 24/7 nearly. So, but it's a matter of how you deal with that, and there's pressures and there's pains and there's opportunities and so I think you need to be disciplined, like I said before, but you need to, I think, lean on people as well. So,
Where are you going to go on holiday next?
I've got a couple of different holidays booked. So golf trip because I love golf.
Yeah. Where are you going to go?
Adelaide.
Okay.
There's a bunch of about 12 of us that go each year. So we
With
pick
my
a
husband.
different location. Yes, I'm taking
Rude.
Jessie's husband away. And then end of the year, we've got 6 weeks away over in Europe. So
Oh, well, I don't feel bad for you at all now.
Yeah.
Jessie, how about you? Have any holidays?
I have Japan coming up and South Africa for a friend's wedding.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to start booking some holidays now. I'm feeling very, very envious. Well, that's awesome. And I talked about some of the challenges there, but I want to flip that so it's a bit more positive and think about some of the highlights of your career so far. So if you could think about if there have been any milestones or any things where you've been like, this has just been absolutely brilliant. Colin, I'll start with you first.
Setting up Mason Finance Group, that's been the best milestone in my mortgage broking career. So obviously meeting Jess, but then setting up Mason Finance Group, it's been a pinnacle.
Yeah, absolutely. Setting up Mason Finance Group and being, at the time, I don't know if this is the right status now, but the fastest group to ever hit chairman's at
Low market.
low market.
Yeah.
I was stoked with. It was, yeah.
So you did it in the shortest amount of time?
Yeah.
Wow.
Correct.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
I think it's less than 6 months. was
Yeah,
it?
less than 6 months, yeah.
Well, that's gross. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
That is a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
But
yeah.
when you think about then the industry as a whole, and as we sort of mentioned multiple times, the industry's really changed over the years. Even just since I've been in the advisor the last 10 years, it's really gone through some different changes and maturation. And we're seeing a whole different breed of broker come up now, a really professionalized one, a really schmick one as well, really efficient, seeing those efficiency levels in our top 25 brokerages ranking constantly going up and up and up.
Yeah.
What do you think, though, could be the biggest improvements you'd like to see in industry? If you were going to be the leader of the broking industry for the day, what would you change? What would you do? What would you want to see improved?
For me personally, I think just getting better at those missing information requests. I think the lenders working more with the brokers. If I can add to that, I think the other thing would be to get the banks more in alignment with mortgage brokers. So to expand on that further, just simple things like pricing. For example, we are, as brokers, we want to look after all of our clients. We want to do a really good service post-settlement. So we'll go back and reprice our client applications all the time, making sure they get the better deals. And there's not meant to be any conflict with the branches or with the banks, so we're told anyhow, but that still happens quite often where we will do the pricing, we will escalate pricing with the bank to come back with the rate. We will then lodge an application to another bank to get a better deal for our customer, for that bank to retain the customer right at the 12th hour because that wasn't the top of the line that we got to, which is probably disappointing. So that would be one thing.
How big is that price differential?
So there's one particular major bank at the moment, without mentioning names, that it was 0.19%, better than what we could get with that bank.
0.19?
Yeah,
Wow.
And we had 3 deals with this particular bank. One was mine, 2 was 2 with the other brokers, but it was over $20,000 of commission in just 1 week, just because of the pricing, which we were told to follow a process, which we did with that particular bank, to be then told, we're losing the deal. So that's disappointing. And look, and I know there's still banks out there paying referral commission to real estate agents as well, which, my understanding through the Royal Commission was that was meant to stop, and there was meant to be more sort of better behaviour around that. And that's still ongoing, which is disappointing as well. So I think, there's a few things that need to change in our industry to make it, more fair. In my opinion, I mean, we're fortunate enough because we've got a lot of good relationships already. For anyone new coming into the industry, you just want it to be a fair sort of playing field, and then everyone prospers.
MIRs, channel conflict, and more even playing field.
Yep.
And yeah, for Jessie, for you, anything that you'd like to see improved or anything you think would be beneficial for the industry?
I would like, so we, in a lot of banks that we actually use, we get, I guess the best assessors looking at our files. I wish it was across the board for us because sometimes you will submit a deal for a bank that maybe you don't submit as many deals with, and you'll get a junior assessor. I know someone has to start somewhere, but if we had, senior assessors looking at everything in a perfect world, following their policy and us not having to, teach the policy, that would be perfect world scenario.
It's so funny how many brokers say that. And we're like, the amount of times you have to actually tell someone, we're like, no, this isn't your credit policy. This is on page this, on paragraph this, actually having to point it out. It's amazing. Just in closing, thank you firstly for letting me pick your brain so thoroughly today and share your story. But if you had any advice for any new brokers just starting out on their journey, what would you tell them that it takes to succeed in broking? And Jessie, I'm going to start with you.
I would say firstly, have a buffer. Have about
savings buffer.
Yeah, savings buffer. If you can have 12 months of your salary behind you, so you remove a lot of that stress, have that savings and start. Just go. I delayed for so many years because I'd wanted to be a broker for so long, and I just kept pushing it out, thinking, no, I can't do it. But just start. Honestly, start.
Lovely. And Colin, for you?
Surround yourself with good people. I think people that have been there, done it, lean on people. I'd be more than happy, to be honest with you, with any new broker starting to bounce ideas off me. And I think you'll find a lot of brokers, good brokers in this country, would open their doors for any new broker wanting to start out. So I think that's really important. So I'd say surrounding yourself with good people and giving it at least 12 months. Don't think after 6 months you're a failure, because you're not. As long as you start something and keep doing it in that first 6 months, give it the other 6 months, now you're at the 12-month mark, and then reassess.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, because there's so many people that I've heard of get out of the industry after 6 months because I think they failed, which they probably haven't.
Yeah, because it is a long time, especially in residential mortgage broking, probably less so in asset and commercial where it's a little bit faster. But yeah, it takes a long time to get your first paycheck. And if you've only, it takes you months to find your first client, and then months to actually get that loan done, months to get paid, you can feel like 6 months isn't actually reflective of where you'd be.
I feel like you're unemployed for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest advice.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure now you're going to get lots of people reaching out to you to be like, please help me.
That's fine. Yeah. So that's all good. So.
But thank you both for sharing your insights and how you're building Mason Finance Group into a monolith of industry. And we look forward to seeing how the merger goes with the Ironbark Group. And congratulations as well. What an achievement.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having us along.
If you've got any questions for me or for Mason Finance Group, then do feel free to reach out. You can reach me at editor@theadvisor.com.au. Of course, check out Colin Mason and Jessie Spencer on LinkedIn or on their company website if you want to find out more about what they're doing. Plus, check out the February edition of The Advisor magazine to find out who else is in the top 25 brokerages ranking for 2026. It's one of our annual rankings. It's always interesting to see the movers and shakers, who's building, who's growing, who's doing what. And you can check that out in the February edition of the magazine, out now. We hope you have a fab time. Hopefully we'll see you at the Better Business Summit, where we'll be talking more to top 25 brokerages in the country about how they built their businesses. We'll also be talking about peak performance, what it takes to actually build a strong business. We'll be hearing from Maxine Horner, the Shark Tank shark, who is talking about what she's seen and over her career, how she's built her own business empire and what she's seen from other business owners that succeed. Plus, we'll be hearing from Drew Arthurson, the COO of Sydney Swans, talking about peak performance. As I say, we'll talk top 25 brokerages. We're learning all about AI marketing and how you can ensure that your brokerage is being served up in large language models, what the difference is between SEO and GEO and why that's important to you. Plus, of course, celebrating the leading brokers in each state and territory at the Better Business Awards in the evening. So if you haven't yet bought your tickets for that, make sure you do. It's in March and April of this year, and we look forward to seeing you there. Otherwise, take a listen back to previous episodes on the Advisor Podcast Network. You can find them all there. Elite Broker, New Broker, Women in Finance in Focus, and What's Making Headlines. And we'll catch you next time for another episode. We hope you have a great week.